Okay, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making a stuffed meatloaf, a keto-friendly version of the meatloaf as pictured there. So what I have in there is 2 pounds of pork and ground beef, and I added a quarter cup of ground up pork rinds. Now we're going to be adding in about a quarter cup of nutritional yeast. That's just a personal preference of mine. If you don't want that, you can skip it. About a tablespoon of minced garlic. Whatever kind of spices you want to add, I add in garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. And about a tablespoon of mustard. I also have half of a medium onion chopped. And then I also have one jalapeno pepper also chopped, which we'll be adding in to our food processor. So this is the jalapeno pepper going in. And again, this stuffed meatloaf is going to be kind of like a jalapeno popper version of a stuffed meatloaf. I'm going to add about a tablespoon or so of soy sauce. And also, again, the soy sauce that I use is low carb and it contains no wheat. But if you do not want to use soy sauce, you can use coconut aminos and one egg. So we've got, oh, 2 eggs. I'm sorry. I forgot. I put 2 eggs in there. So it is a pound each of ground pork and a pound of ground chuck, a quarter cup of ground pork rinds, quarter cup of nutritional yeast, spices, 2 eggs, a little half of a medium onion, and one jalapeno pepper. And we're just going to run it through the food processor till everything is well combined and chopped. It's going to form a nice pasty kind of ball once it's complete. So you can see now everything's all kind of combined together. That's where we're going to pulse it a little bit and then we'll stop it. And we'll get a bread pan. You could also freeform it on a baking sheet if you wanted to, but I have a bread pan, so we're going to use that. And I'm just going to take the meat out of the food processor in a second, move it out of the way, and make room for our, well, unplug it, of course, because you don't want to accidentally turn it on when your hands are in there. It's going to be hard to get the blade out until we get some of this meat out. So we're just going to pull some of the meat out and we're going to put it into our bread pan. And we're going to push it in on the bottom and we're going to press it up along the sides. Let's get the blade out of there just for safety. Rinse it off right away so you don't want anything drying on it. Wash your hands, dry them off, and put a little bit more meat in there. What we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to press it into the pan, press it up along the sides, kind of to form a well. And then inside of that well, we're going to put cream cheese and 2 more diced jalapenos in there. So right now I'm just kind of forming it up the sides. I'm kind of forming the well that we're going to put the filling into. Now you could fill this with anything that you want. You could do cheddar cheese. You could do mozzarella and pizza sauce and do like a pizza meatloaf. You can, get creative, fill it with whatever you want as long as it fits your macros. So now just washed my hands and we are going to add our filling into this well that I formed in there. So I've got some cream cheese that I've already cut up into pieces. You're going to use about 4 ounces total in here. And I cut it into 3 sections, which fit almost perfectly inside of that well. And then once we have those in there like that, we're going to take our 2 diced jalapenos and we're going to put those up on top. I think when all is said and done, when I entered this meatloaf recipe into Carb Manager, it made figuring out 8 slices. Each slice was 4 net carbs, I believe. So if you were really hungry and ate 2 slices of this meatloaf, which it kind of makes a lot, you're only going to be having 8 carbs for that whole meal. I usually try to keep all of my meals below 10 carbs. So that's what it looks like. Now we're going to take the rest of our meat mixture and place it on top and then press it in firmly so that it forms a seal. And for your oven, you're going to want to cook it at 380 degrees for about 40-45 minutes. I like to use a meat thermometer to make sure that it's at 150 at least before everything is all done. So, preheat your oven to 380 and plan on it being in there for at least, 40-45 minutes. Once this is all in there and pressed and I get bacon on top, we are going to cover it with tin foil just so that the top doesn't burn. And then we'll take the tin foil off midway through cooking and add a topping to it. So here's our meatloaf all pressed in there. All we have to do is top it with bacon, and then we'll be ready to place it in the oven. So we'll get our hands washed and we'll prep our bacon. So here we have our meatloaf. I'm not going to get too fancy with the bacon here. I'm just basically going to tuck it in the sides and then just fold it over and just kind of make a blanket of bacon on top. So we'll go through, I think it's going to use about 4 strips, maybe 4 or 5 strips of bacon. I know some people may think it's a little bit strange to add the nutritional yeast into your meatloaf. I just like it because it adds a little bit of a nice, sort of a cheesy kind of savory flavor to the meatloaf without adding in more cheese. It also, adds a little bit of, flavor and a little bit of the dry ingredients in there to help soak up some of the egg mixture. Since we're not using breadcrumbs, we need to add a little bit more binder than what that pork rinds can provide. So we're almost finished with our bacon topping here, and then we are going to place it in the oven, and shortly we will prepare our kind of a ketchup topping. So there's our bacon on top, nothing fancy. All right, so to make our topping, I don't have a recipe for this. I'm just going to throw together some sugar-free ketchup. So that's like 1 net carb per 2 tablespoons. A little Worcestershire sauce. A little bit more, I kind of like that. And for a little bit of zing, since we're doing a little bit of a spicier meatloaf, we'll add a little Tabasco in there. And then we'll just stir it up till it's a nice consistency, and that's going to be what we add to our topping of our meatloaf. You can add whatever you want. You could do straight ketchup. You could do a wing sauce with butter and hot sauce. Get creative. Do whatever you like. Whatever you think would fit your filling. If you were doing a pizza meatloaf, you could top it with marinara sauce if you wanted. So here we pulled it out of the oven about midway through cooking, and we're just adding this ketchup mixture that we added, this little bit of spicy ketchup that we made. So we'll put it in, cook it for another 15 or 20 minutes, and that'll be it. We'll check the temperature, make sure that it's midway. Can't read what it says, but if I remember right, it was at about 120, 130 at this point. So we had a little bit of ways to go, which is what we want. We want it to continue cooking without getting dried out. Like I said, this will make about 8 pieces. So we got about an inch and a half size slab for each serving. And each serving with everything in there is going to come out to about 4 net carbs per. Now, I didn't overly stuff this so that it wouldn't shoot all over the place, but it is hot. And so we'll cut our meatloaf just so you can see what it looks like inside of here. It's hot. It's kind of oozing out, but it's good. There is our stuffed meatloaf. I hope you enjoy, and if you make it, great. Get creative with your filling, and that is it. Thank you.